Never waste time on someone that wastes yours. This is a rule I've had in my life for a very long time now. And for as long as I can remember, the concept of wasting time has always been a really important thing to me. And I remember this even from being at school. And I'm talking like young, 5 or 6. I knew that a lot of the stuff that I was learning in that environment, I was never going to need to apply to my life, or I had absolutely no interest in. And therefore I knew that sitting down and spending the next hour of my life, or the next 8 hours of my life, learning this content would be entirely useless. And even if there were a subject that I were interested in, sitting down and learning from a book was not how I enjoyed learning. I enjoyed being practical. And so sitting down, learning from a textbook, knowing that none of that information would go in, seemed really, really wasteful in terms of my time. Other instances as well of people wasting my time. Back when I was dating, I would sometimes get myself ready to go for a date, get to the place where we'd arranged to meet, and then just before I got there, get a text message to say that they were going to be 20 minutes late, half hour late, 45 minutes late. And I couldn't tolerate that. I found it really, really difficult. And I think there's one simple reason for that. And I learnt this quickly growing up, is that none of us really know how much time we have on this planet. We've all got this ticking time bomb in our bodies, and at some point, at any point, it's going to go off and your life is going to be over. And I know that sounds really dark to say, but it is the truth. I'm 34 now, I'm relatively healthy, I can't foresee any major health problems immediately, but that's not to say that I couldn't jump in this car, go out driving, which I'm going to do later, and have a major car accident, and that'll be it, I'll be gone. And so I and you have absolutely no idea how long you have left on this planet. And so wasting somebody's time has got to be, for me at least, one of the absolute worst things you can do to a person, because you are literally stealing life from them. And it might sound extreme, but it is true. If you waste an hour of somebody's life, that's an hour that they're never going to get back to where they could have otherwise been doing something that they enjoy doing. Some other examples of this as well, like inefficiency has always been a real bugbear for me. I like to do the things that I have to do that I don't want to do. I want to do as efficiently as possible. So I'll group activities together, like cooking. I'll try and batch cook a load of stuff. I enjoy cooking occasionally. But if I've got to cook the same meal for lunch every day of the week, I'd rather just cook once and have it all done than have to cook 5 separate times and get all the cutlery out and the plates and the cooking utensils and have to wash up 5 times. It seems like a massive waste of my time. And I know this seems like a bit of a rant, and I've had other people to tell me to just chill about it, but it's not something that I can chill about because we only have a finite amount of time and I don't want to waste it. I learnt this from my grandparents as well. I think there are things that we can do to improve our circumstances in life, but I do feel as though we have generally a set amount of time on this earth and we don't know how long that's going to be. And for my grandparents, my granddad was in World War II, he served in the Navy and he fought in the Pacific. And back then, the dangers of smoking weren't really understood, and so cigarettes were given out to soldiers to improve their courage. That's what they believed. And so cigarettes were rationed out along with food and the other essentials for life. And so my granddad started smoking at the age of 15. He'd lied about his age to get into the Navy. And so he started smoking at the age of 15, and he stopped a couple of times, but more or less he smoked for most of his life. And he died at the age of 94. My grandmum as well, my nan, she smoked for most of her life. She survived breast cancer twice and she died at the age of 93. And sure, they may have been around for a little bit longer if they didn't smoke, but this kind of, what I learned from that experience is that I feel like we all have a set amount of time on this planet. And you look at the reverse of that. There are so many people. There was a guy that was doing a marathon a couple of years ago in the town down from me, and there was a hill section that they had to run up. This guy was, I think, in his early 30s, like really fit, looked after himself, and he was running with his girlfriend, and at the bottom of the hill he said that he was feeling a bit funny, so she should run up and he'll meet her at the top. And so she got to the top of the hill and he never came up. He had a heart attack at the bottom of that hill and he died. And I know, I hear myself, I hear that this sounds really dark, but I just have to hammer in the point, because our mortality is something that none of us really ever want to confront, but it's a guaranteed thing in life that you will die at some point. And so the idea that anybody might waste your time through their own inefficiencies, I just cannot tolerate. There are exceptions to this rule, of course. You shouldn't just cut out everyone from your life that wastes a minute of it. There are perfectly valid reasons for people running late to things and unintentionally wasting your time. But if someone is consistently late, is always wasting your time in one way or another, then do them the courtesy of explaining to them why you are upset that they're consistently wasting your time. Give them the opportunity to change that. But if they don't, in my opinion, cut them out, because life's too short. You've got no idea how long you have left, and you're going to be wasting precious time for someone that doesn't respect yours. I remember an example which was fairly recently, actually last year. I was going for a job interview, and I think the interview was at like 1 o'clock or something, and I got there at 1:45. I sat down, preparing myself for this interview, and the guy who was interviewing me, his office was on the opposite side of the wall that I was on, and I heard him, and he was talking to somebody and taking a personal call. It was, I'm sure it was something about like what colour the walls were going to be painted at his house or something. He must have been speaking to his wife. I can't really remember the details, but I remember thinking that conversation is unnecessary. And it got to 1:05, 1:10, 1:15, 1:20, and this guy was still talking about something that was not an emergency. There was no reason for him to be having that conversation, and he knew that he was running late for that interview. And so instead of sitting there wasting my life, I got up and I left. And about 10 minutes later, 15 minutes later, my phone went and it was him, and I didn't pick up the call. And you might find that that's extreme, but I just did not want to begin a working relationship with someone like that wouldn't respect my time. So give it some serious consideration, that's all I'm saying. I know this video is a little bit of a rant, but for me personally, I think wasting somebody's time is one of the worst things that you could do to a person. So give it some consideration and respect your time as well. This is the thing. I think particularly people with low confidence, they feel that maybe their time is worth less than other people's, and it's irrelevant. It's not true in any way, shape or form. You know, if you had an interview with the Dalai Lama, his time is not more precious than yours, and if he is wasting it, then you have to really consider whether you think it's worth wasting your time for. Is the juice worth the squeeze? Don't think for a minute that just because you're living at home with your parents, just because you're unemployed, just because you don't have any friends, just because you're broke, none of those things make you less of a person. And at no point should you ever think that your time is worth less than anybody else's. Really, really important, that one. Don't ever think that your time is worth less than somebody else's. So I hope you found this video useful. Let me know in the comments what you thought, what came up for you. If you want to get more of these kind of insights, you can subscribe to my newsletter in the link in the description. And I am also running some one-to-one coaching sessions as well. You can apply in the description on the same, in the link as well. So anyway, hope you found this video useful, and I will speak to you in the next one. Thanks.